Hello, welcome to EGRAMM, where English is life, but grammar is lifer. Now, we will be talking about prepositions. What do we mean by preposition? Preposition is a function word that typically combines with a noun phrase to form a new phrase. It is to express modification or predictions. So we know prepositions such as an, in, and at. But these are not just the only prepositions. There are more to go. But those prepositions are said to be notoriously difficult to learn. Guess why? Because most of the prepositions are often done in other languages like Russian, German, and Latin, true and flexions. Another thing, in their spatial meaning, it does not match up well from one language to another. Example, supposedly, the preposition at is converted into German an. But in our example, the preposition at is converted into zoo. That was being noted by Zelensky-Wiebelt in 1993, that German is undetermined in expressing spatial relations with prepositions, that having no correspondence from one language to another becomes even more problematic when the word or the meaning is extended. And that results in establishing a more abstract nature. So that's how troubled the prepositions are. So let us know more about its basic characteristics. First on the line is that English prepositions are free morphemes. It means that it can occur by itself. Another thing is that prepositions are called prepositions because it precedes noun. And that is a contrast to Japanese, where they have postpositions. Disclaimer, this is not to say that English preposition must come always before nouns, especially when the WH question is fronted, where the preposition is stranded. Second, prepositions are followed by noun phrase, where noun phrase is the object of preposition, and if it is a pronoun, then it is an object pronoun. Third, the simple preposition does not necessarily represent a single word. It could be single word preposition, complex words preposition, or the coalesced one, where two different prepositions combine together and used as one. Other prepositional phrases are followed by copular verbs, certain intransitive verbs, and transitive adjectives. Now let us find out the occurrence of prepositions with verbs, adjectives, and nouns. With nouns, same verb with different prepositions will have significantly different meanings. Example. But on the same time, it can have no or little change of meaning. For example, sometimes noun phrases are both preceded and followed by preposition in order to form multi-word clusters. For example, this. It is based on Fredison and Eyring 1997. To lexical compounding, this is just simply the combination of a preposition and another part of speech. Now focusing more on the verbs, we have these: out plus verb, under plus verb, over plus verb, and down plus verb. Deletion of preposition, we have two types. First, the optional, where we can delete it or not. Second are really obliged to delete it because it causes incorrect grammar. Optional deletion. First, when the preposition for expresses a span of time. For example, we have lived here for 12 years, where the preposition for can be optionally be deleted. Next one is when the preposition on is used before the days of the week. For example, Brent went cross-country skiing on Saturday. The preposition on can be optionally deleted. Third, in responses to questions that would cue temporal use of in, and, on, and for. For example, how long have you lived here? Obligatory deletion. First, when the use of the temporal noun phrase contains determiner seen at the perspective of a speaker. For example, I was busy on last Friday. Delete the preposition on. Second, when the temporal noun phrase contains universal quantifier like every or all. For example, we stayed in Provo for all week. Delete the preposition for. Third, locative noun like home or downtown. For example, we went to home. Delete the preposition to. Fourth, when pro-adverbs here and there that describes motion or direction. For example, Piles walks to here every day, so we have to delete the preposition to. Meaning of prepositions. According to Taylor of 1993, prepositions are indeed polysemous. That one meaning of preposition could be used in different several instances. Locating objects in space. It allows us to identify the objects inside a space. In the first example, there are two entities that are important. Stephanie and the room. One is for foregrounding, which is Stephanie. The other one is for background, which is the room. This happens because Taylor in 1993 says that both are inherently asymmetrical. This is the illustration adapted from Durbin's analysis in 1993. According to Durbin, the prepositions at, on, and in are the basic and most general place prepositions, where preposition at denotes place as a point of orientation. For example, meet me at the corner. The preposition on denotes physical contact between trajectory and landmark. For example, don't sit on the desk. Next, preposition in denotes the enclosure of the trajectory and the landmark. For example, Stephanie is in the room. On the bottom part of illustration, we have the three source preposition. The prepositions from, of, and out of. It involves the notion of separation from place and hence are connected by two pointed arrows with the basic place preposition in the illustration. Preposition from denotes separation from a point of orientation. For example, he took it from me. Next, preposition of denotes a separation from contact with the line or surface. For example, the vase fell off the table. Next, the preposition out of denotes a separation from inside of a landmark. For example, the water spilled out of the vase. On the left side of the illustration, we have the prepositions by and with, which are the proximity prepositions. These are adjacent to preposition at on the diagram because they locate the trajectory in relation to a point of orientation, just as the preposition at does. Preposition by denotes the idea of connection. For example, the dog lives by me. The preposition with denotes both a point of orientation and the idea of connection, but may do so in a more abstract way to mean association or accompaniment. For example, he walks with me to school. On the right side of the illustration, we have the prepositions through and about. This requires the landmark to be seen as a surface or of a volume and are therefore positioned on the illustration next to preposition in. Preposition through structures space as a tunnel or channel. For example, take the first path through the woods. The preposition about denotes a spatial movement in any direction. For example, he walked about the room searching for where he had left his keys. Next, the prepositions under and over, which are vertical space prepositions. Preposition under denotes a trajectory at a lower point than a landmark. For example, don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. Preposition over denotes a trajectory that is at higher point than landmark. For example, we peered over the fence. More about under and over is that they don't fit neatly as the other prepositions in the illustration. Under is similar to from, of, and out of, in that all four denotes a negative polarity. On the other hand, over can overlap some domains with through and about, while under negates the positive polarity of preposition over. Meaning extension of spatial preposition. No, meanings are extended, which means that it becomes even more problematic and even more abstract. According to Dirwin, the extension of meanings does not go randomly, but has a path that gradually increasing. And with this notion of schema, I will present you the concentric circles that will give the prototypical examples of Dirwin's analysis. Hudson in 1979 reviewed the linguistic studies and lexical entries of unabridged dictionaries, where she arrived at 7 meanings of at. First, used to locate an object in space. For example, the paper was lying at my feet. Second, used to locate an object in time. For example, he was here at 1 o'clock. Condition or engagement in a particular activity. For example, I'm never at ease when taking a rest. Fourth, used to indicate a cause or reason of an action. For example, she wept at the bad news. Fifth, used to indicate a direction, used to indicate direction toward a goal or an objective. For example, the man over there is pointing at us. 6. Used to express a special skill or lack of it in a particular activity. For example, she's a whiz at poker. 7. Used to indicate relative amount, degree, rate or value, or position on scale. For example, he retired at 65. But actually, out of 305 so-called idioms that Hudson tried to test into 20 subjects, she arrived at 9 categories. And the 7 were presented. The other 2 are these. 8 does not mean that the same as or fit any of the categories. 9. I do not understand or use this expression. At this point, we may say that prepositions are indeed polysemous and it is hard to understand. But take note that prepositions are all different. One is frequent than others.
I will give various meanings of common preposition. So as you can see on the screen, we have a chart that comprises preposition, space, time, degree, and other. So in space, it allows us to know the object's position, direction, and place. In time, it allows us to know when things are taking place in the specific time period. In degree, it can determine objects' rank, measurement, amounts, and etc. In other, it includes idiomatic usage of some prepositions. Our first preposition is at. Meet at the corner. Look at John. Throw stone at John. Meet me at the theater. It allows us to know the object's period, target, and general area. We met at 1 o'clock. It rains at night there, where it discusses specific time of the day. Water freezes at 0 degrees, and he works keeping at shape. About. He ran, which indicates he ran all around. About 1 o'clock. About $1, the approximate time and amount. About a book, which is referring to it. Above the picture, which is higher than. Above $5, above freezing, above average, means that it exceeded. Above suspicion, and above reproach. Against, to lean against the wall. Having contact with it, to work against the clock. To against for, a conflict, against one's will, and against all odds, which is external and internal. Around, the fence is around the house, which is the state. The children run around the yard, the action. Around 1 o'clock, around $2, around 4 months, is approximate time and degree. Before the mast. In front, before 1960, before the accident, which is earlier. Between the house and the street, which indicates the point of relation between two entities. Between 1 and 2 o'clock, between 100 and 110 pounds. Between you and me, by. Chair by the desk, which is the nearness. No later than, by 5 p.m. Little by little, inch by inch, which is the reduplication. Do by oneself, that means without help. 4. The goal of the object, set out for Alaska. 7 miles, which indicates distance. 7 years, which is the duration of time. Buy for $4, which is the exchange. California is famous for its wines, which is the reason and the purpose is fish for trout. From, we traveled from New York to LA. The object starting point, man from New York. The origin, work from 9 to 5. From 60 to 80 degrees, the duration of time and temperature. Paper is made from wood, which is the source. The cause is wet from the rain. Then, the preposition in, enclosure. The man is in the room. World War II ended in 1945, which ended the period. Pay me in dollars. Write it in English, which is the currency and language of an object. Of, the city of New York, the state of Texas, the names of location and institution. A quarter of 10. Before, one of the boys. The fraction or portion. A friend of mine. Possessive. A table made of wood. The source of the object. On the wall. I live on the street, which is in contact with and along. On Sunday, on November 9th, which is the day or date. On the TV, a book on magic, which means the communication and concerning. Over, carry a sweater over his shoulder. Jump over the fence. It is the state and action of being above. Over the weekend, spanning of time. Over an hour, Over $2, which means more than. Over the radio, over the TV, which is the communication. Through the window, through the forest, the penetrant, through the years, the duration, through thick and thin, which means the endurance. 2. Go to the movies, the direction toward the place. Work from 9 to 5 until 11:15, which is before. He is wise to that extent. Dance to the music, which is accompany.
Towards. Walk toward the wall in the direction of. Toward morning. The temperature moves steadily toward 0 degrees. Towards a lasting peace. Under. Be under the house. Crawl under the house, which is indicated below in a state and action. In under an hour. Under $1. Under 10 men. Under 70 degrees, which is less than. Under duress, which is the condition. Lastly is the preposition with. Even with the wall, which means alongside and near. He grew wiser with the years. Together, ranks with the best, indicated standing or the ability. To please with a gift, to spoke with ease, which is in regard to and the manner.
So now, let's move on to the meanings of non-spatial preposition. So two of the most common prepositions are of and off, that do not have obvious spatial sense as others have. So Thompson found out that of has a spatial connection, and the preposition of and off have different pronunciation of the same word. Place. He has stepped off the platform. Area. Talk of the devil. Cause. He died of cholera. Of co-occurs without and can be extended metaphorically in emotional state. For example, place. He walked out of the house. Cause. He killed himself out of despair. Thompson have three definitions of. First is concerning, second is derive, and third is having. For example, in concerning, about the story of a princess. Derived or coming from, an example is the headlights of the car. In having, a man of courage. Of, often used for a second meaning, such as in possessive use, partitive use, and originating use. Semantics of case. So we will examine the second major function of the preposition. First, by. Adjective. It is something that is produces. An example, it was composed by Tchaikovsky. Second, by means. We went there by bus. 4. Proxy. He managed the store for the bakers. From. Ablative. Means source is the point of origin. Sherry brought the car from Dave. Of. Eliciting. Means to call out of notice. Example, he asked a favor of us. Of. Separation. Process of separating. They cleared the field of trash. Of. Genitive. Means relating to. The hood of the car was dented. 2. Dative. Also means relating to. I gave that hat I was knitting to my best friend. 2. The direction and goal where is something is directed. We drove to Charlotte, North Carolina. With. Instrument is the device used. He broke the window with a rock. With. Commutative. Means accompaniment. I went to town with Jack. With. Joining. Means join together. The storm covered the mountains with snow. In some type of sentences, the order of the cases is significant with respect to the prepositions that occur. In unmarked order, Craig planted beans in his yard, wherein somewhere in his yard. In marked order, Craig planted his yard with beans. In unmarked order, the locative is in his yard, and it takes the preposition in. On the other hand, in marked order, the patient takes the preposition with. Another example of this phenomenon is unmarked order. Meg emptied the groceries out of the bag, which means one by one, no rush is implied. Mark order. Meg emptied the bag of groceries. The verbs in underlying cases still remain the same. The meanings of the words slightly change. Reviewing semantically related case function together. Frequently, two or more case function can be usefully reviewed in set. For example, dative, benefactive, and eliciting. These are all semantic cases associated with indirect objects. Example, I mailed the package to my pen pal, which is the dative. And I bought the tickets for Mary, which is benefactive. And lastly, I asked a question of the speaker, which is the eliciting. Dative and ablative. These are two related verbs of transfer. To, from. Sam sold the car to Jenny. Jenny bought the car from Sam. Joining with and separating of. The cashier filled my bag of groceries. When I got home, I emptied the bag of groceries. Agentive and instrumental. The window was broken by Bruce, which is agentive. It was broken with a rock, which is instrumental. The use of preposition. Variation in use. There appear to be instances where more than one preposition with the same meaning is acceptable. Spatial proximity. A house near. By the lake. Time. Degree. Approximation. Happened around. About 10 o'clock. Cast around. About $100. Telling time. A quarter of to 10. Telling time. A quarter after. Past 10. Location along something linear. The town on. Along the Rhine. In a time period. It happened in. During 1998. Temporal termination. Work from 9 until till to 5. Location lower than something. Below, beneath, under. Underneath the stairs. Location higher than something. Above, over the table. Location in, at the rear of something. Behind, in the back of the door. Location adjacent. Next to, behind the stream. Language will not tolerate having more than one form with exactly the same meaning and use. Therefore, we may find some given sets that are not equally acceptable. For example, the preposition above and over, it can be interchangeable. For example, the plane flew above the storm clouds. The plane flew over the storm clouds. Semantic distinction can exist in two-dimensional space. For example, hang the picture above the mirror. Hang the picture over the mirror. Members of the sets may be distinguished in the use. Example is its register. Preposition in discourse. Another issue that we should deal with is the discourse. Which preposition occur? According to Kennedy, it is important to study the linguistic of ecology in preposition. So what is linguistic of ecology? It is the study of interaction between any given language and its environment. So Kennedy examined the preposition between and through because sometimes these prepositions overlap. Both between and through are most commonly used in their locative sense. However, other non-physical relations are also very frequent. For example, interaction, communication between management and employees. Comparison, there is little to choose between the two. Similarity, the important parallel between Handel and Beethoven. Difference, discrepancy between accepted and observed scores. Means, through the medium of the English language. Causation, the dilapidation through lack of maintenance. Prepositions, a multi-level strategy. This is another finding of Kennedy, wherein he observed the preposition between and among. Between is frequently used, while among might be expected. Some of us still continue to make errors of omission or use the wrong preposition. Nonetheless, the situation is not hopeless. As we have discussed, the meaning of prepositions is extended beyond representing spatial relationships. Learning the various meanings of common prepositions is a bit challenging. But there is a pedagogical strategy that allows us students to pay attention. There is no doubt that these students will learn in these difficult lexicogrammar forms. I hope you learned something from us on this episode. Please do follow us on our Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, we are the EGRAMM.